Hi, I'm Monique Say, and I'm a hypnotist, and you've landed on my Hypnosis 101 video. And since you're watching this video, you are most likely asking yourself, what is hypnosis? What can it do? How does it work? So let me say this first. If you really want to nerd out on how hypnosis works and what studies on it show that it can do what one of my favorite podcasters, Jason Linett, suggests and go on scholar.google.com where you can plug the word in hypnosis and find tons of scientific research and data on the subject. As for this video, I'm just going to break down hypnosis here in a very layman's sense in the context of what hypnosis is in a session with me and what happens during that process, what you can expect. But I will go over a few basic things about hypnosis and the hypnotic state now. So I'll skip the definition and I'll just mention the things that you can see in research all over the place, like that it can help with several common issues and that clinical studies prove it has a therapeutic effect on those issues, such as pain management, anxiety reduction, smoking cessation, weight loss. Perfect, right? For us, because you are probably seeking information about hypnosis for one of those things. You will often hear the hypnotic state or trance state explained as a natural state, where your unconscious is basically handling things while your conscious mind is off in a la-la land. If you've ever experienced something like driving a familiar route and not realizing how you got there in the end, or if you've witnessed what I happen to think is the most common hypnotic or trance state, which is when someone gets so wrapped up in something on their phone or a book or a movie, and to get their attention, you would literally have to say their name 3 times or more to snap them out of it. Kids are infamous for what I like to call the TV trance. So my point is anyone and everyone who has experienced similar things to these has experienced a natural hypnotic trance, even critical or analytical minds, or skeptic minds. Hypnosis is a process for directing these natural states and hijacking the cognitive adaptability that exists in these states, which is what makes hypnotic suggestions so effective. For most people, if you don't know anything about hypnosis, it might sound more complicated or mysterious than it actually is. For the most part, hypnosis in its hypnotherapy form, at least in the sessions that I lead, is just like a focused conversation. A conversation with a very specific agenda. And during the entire conversation, my specific goal will be to help you put accomplishing your goal on autopilot. That's something your unconscious mind can do for you. How will this happen? The tools I'll use will be specific language patterns and sequences, as well as mind exercises that I will walk you through. I will say things that appeal to your subconscious awareness and help you speak its language. I will use this language during our session in a specific sequence as well, to give you a series of easy to follow instructions like look at my eye, or close your eyes, or raise your arm or your hand. An example of such an exercise I might have you do is found on one of my videos called Demystifying Hypnosis. Look into my eye. These exercises are meant to move your conscious awareness from the objective to the subjective perspective. I'm going to get your critical thinking filter out of the way by speaking the language of imagination, which is easily accepted by the unconscious mind. And that's where you come in. The most common question asked is, will this work for me, for my issue? And in order for this to work for you or for anyone, there has to be some level of willingness on your part to collaborate with me, the hypnotist, to create the hypnotic state that we do the change work in. Of course, I do most of the heavy lifting. That's why you need me, the hypnotist. That's what you pay me for. But as the person seeking change, you obviously have a role to play in your own success. And to be successful in the overall hypnosis process, well, actually, there's very little effort required on your part. The only requirement during this session is the ability to just do the things that I'm asking you to do to the best of your ability. So like in addition of asking you to do physical things and actions, like I mentioned earlier, like close your eyes or put your hands together, I'll also ask you to imagine some things. And a special note here, imagination isn't a special skill or a critically defined action. It could just mean you think of it, or you could feel it, or sense that you know it, or see it in your mind's eye, or whatever. Every person's unconscious has its own dialect of imagination. Use what is comfortable for yours, and just be willing to accept that your unconscious mind gets it, whatever it is. And however it develops or presents itself in the session, it's okay. It's like when someone says, picture an apple. Whatever just popped into your mind when I said that, that's your imagination. So just use that to the best of your ability, and don't sweat it. Your mind has its own representation or modality for things that it recognizes, that it uses when you imagine something. And it's not always a visual for everything or everyone. So again, I'll ask you to do some physical things. I'll ask you to use your imagination, and then I'll ask you to follow some suggestions. And you will be open to the suggestions because they will be aiming towards your own goals. If I ask you to feel an emotion, just feel that emotion. As strongly as you can while you're thinking about it, feel that emotion. While you do that, your unconscious hears what I say while you are thinking about that emotion. And that is the purpose. In fact, while you're thinking about other things, I will be speaking with your unconscious quite a bit. And the words may confuse you, but your unconscious mind will interpret its own understanding that you need not consciously comprehend. And if your conscious mind doesn't get it, that's okay. And while all of this is happening, your unconscious mind will be listening and answering even the questions or problems that you haven't consciously worked out yet. You shouldn't let that bother you, because that is exactly why I'm speaking at this point to the unconscious mind. That's where we're going to find results. And once you have accepted the suggestions, unconsciously or subconsciously, the suggestions that you and I collaboratively agreed that I should suggest, only then I guide you out of the hypnosis state and back to the fully conscious, refreshed state. And then we discuss some post-hypnotic suggestions. We'll go over what it feels like to have made the radical changes that you will have just made during the process, and then we'll wrap up the process. And the whole process effectively communicates a new neural pattern or program for the unconscious mind to run when it's faced with a problem that needs resolution. I know it sounds a little sci-fi, or on the other spectrum, maybe even a little too easy, right? But once you understand how it works and the simplicity of the applications, and that it is a natural ability and state, it makes sense that it is so simple. And that's the beauty of it. There is no mysterious magic trick that makes it work. The magic is already in the natural power of your own mind. I just help figure out the hypnotic combination to unlock its potential. It's a collaborative process, like I said, one that can change the way you think and feel forever. And the thing about hypnosis is that once you've experienced it, you find yourself wanting more. And by then, there's really nothing you can do about it, because, come on, you figured out how to change everything. If you'd like to learn the way in through the door to your unconscious, create a map to your own success, whether it's quitting habits like smoking, by creating new patterns in your brain, or quelling your irrational fears and phobias without even having to talk about it sometimes, or relieving stress and its symptoms racing through your limbic system by learning instant coping methods even before your first session, let's chat. It's free. And until I see you on a Zoom chat, take care.